All right. Good afternoon. It's February 9th, and you're at the Stanislaus Council of Governments meeting, executive board meeting. Go ahead and roll call, please.
Yearbook Condit.
Here.
Member Chiesa.
Here.
Alternate Member Rosa Scutia Brayton.
Here.
Vice Chair Carr.
Here.
Member Hernandez. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Next up on the agenda is public comment, and I do have one comment for Milt. Milt, thank you for being here. We don't get much public participation in the executive board meeting. We're glad to have you here.
Good afternoon, StanCon board and staff members. Milt Treeweiler. It's hard to understand, but we're not thinking clearly. After the COVID pandemic, we all went through a series of changes that affected our lives. Our recovery from the pandemic is still not complete. Many of us have become irrational when it comes to making important decisions. We must clear up our brains and begin to think like rational and intelligent people again. We know that we're responsible for our children and descendants because they're too young or they haven't been born yet. Obviously, we're not going to allow our children to get into an automobile and drive. It's our responsibility to take care of them, plan for them, and protect them. Our children and descendants must have food to eat, clean air to breathe, and clean water to drink. Maybe we don't think about the fact that our Earth is the same size it was when it was created. There's no new water, there's no new air, there's no new land on the Earth since we arrived. There are many different climates on the Earth, from the frozen Arctic to the hot equator. We know we can't grow almonds, walnuts, and other tree crops in the Arctic because it's too cold there. Basically, almonds, walnuts, and other tree crops need a deep soil, an ample supply of water, and the right climate to grow. The central part of Stanislaus County has all three of these conditions. No other place on the Earth is like this. As our public officials, it is important that you see that this land is protected for posterity. This farmland in Stanislaus County is fully economically developed, producing food for our state and our nation. It produced $3.2 billion at the last time it was last year, and that's higher than 17 other states. We are adults and parents, and we have an obligation to do what's right and best for our children and descendants. We must all be good stewards. Thank you.
Thank you, Milt. Any other like to make public comments about items not on the agenda? Anything online? Thank you. I'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to the next item is the consent calendar. Any executive board member like to pull and discuss the consent item? Any public like to make comment on any consent item? Seeing none, anything online? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the executive board for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
I got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 4-0. Moving on to discussion items. Motion to recommend the policy board adopt resolution authorizing the interim executive director to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Crawford and Associates to complete building environmental sampling testing. Our interim executive director, Kate Millett.
Hi, good afternoon. This item would approve us entering into an agreement with Crawford and Associates to do testing on properties and buildings that we have acquired for the purposes of delivering the State Route 132 project. In order for us to raise the buildings, it requires that we do chemical testing and evaluate whether there's any asbestosis. And so this will allow us to move forward with completing the acquisition and raising the buildings. In the interim, the buildings are all being fenced and boarded and signed. So this will allow us to move forward with that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kate?
Yeah. Kate, shouldn't we be doing the testing before we purchase the property? What happens if we end up with an asbestos problem that costs more money than we anticipate?
Yeah, so we need to acquire the project or the buildings in order for us to move forward with our project. So that was sort of an immaterial way of proceeding with completing that this phase of the project. But That said, if there is any chemicals in the facility, then we would just mitigate and it would just cost us more to raise the building. So we don't anticipate that there's going to be, any extraordinary things, but because of the age of most of the buildings, there's likely to be asbestos.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Any public comment? Anything online? Okay, I'll bring it back to the executive board for motion.
So move.
I have a first.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4-0.
Correction, that's 5-0, right? Chair?
Rachel just walked in the room, so I assume that she wasn't going to vote on that. Yeah,
Okay.
so 4-0. Okay. Moving on to item B, motion to recommend the policy board adopt a resolution approving the fiscal year 2025-26 overall work program, the OWP Amendment 3. Jean Clement.
Hi, thank you. I have Jennifer Graham here with me, and she's our financial specialist, and she'll be helping me with the presentation today. This is the 25-26 OWP Amendment number 3. Next slide. The OWP is a document that's required and must be submitted and approved each year by Stancog's funding partners, which are listed there. It's a management tool which identifies tasks and products that Stancog will undertake each year. And Amendment 3 is necessary to include Caltrans carryover funding for 25-26. Next slide. On this slide, I want to point out one thing, and then I'll let Jen go into any other details. We took out the Measure L 1% for outreach and education that used to reside in this schedule number 1, but we've taken that out. So I know that's been a point of contention, but it's taken out, and now those processes are being funded through the Measure L administrative funds. So Jen?
So for the carryover year, we added in the final allocations versus what the estimated were originally. And then for STBG and CMAQ on the federal revenue, we updated what the current numbers were versus what they were when the original amendment occurred, giving us total federal revenue of 7.9 million versus the original 8.4. And then for state revenue with the PPM carryover and current year, we updated the funds for 291,000 and 506,000. And then we took out the 314,000 that was for year 24-25 sustainable communities because it was based on estimates, and when the final allocation came out, we didn't actually get those funds. So for our total revenue and for our total operating and project revenue, we're at 18.261 million, giving a difference from the original amendment of 1.47 million.
Okay, and the next schedule is on expenditure budget. We just want to point out some of the contract cost increases. We have additional 30,000 in auditing costs, outside legal services, 300,000. CPA support is 90. We have a on-site person from Brown Armstrong that is helping us with the finance department while we're seeking a new finance and administration person. Consulting services, recruitment and updates of policies and procedures is 91. Temporary staff, we continue to rely on temporary staff to help us in the finance department until we can reach a full staff. We're running about one person behind on that. And then the interim director budget of 180,000. Jen?
So for the supplies and services section, we backed out from the original 350,000 for travel conferences and seminars. Due to a lot less travel occurring, we tried to allocate those costs towards other expenditures. So from the original amendment, we had 982,000 versus the 895,000 that it is for Amendment 3. And then for the indirect cost carry forward amount from prior years, we backed that out because that's been used for direct costs or for indirect costs. So our total operating expenditures are 6,795,000 versus the original 6,183,000.
Okay, next slide.
Can I say something, please? It's really challenging to, all the information you're sharing is really valuable and very interesting. Thank you for bringing it up. It's challenging to follow where those figures are at in the schedule. You don't happen to have a pointer with you so we could follow along. In the future, maybe we could highlight those line items that were,
Going over?
yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Thank you for
And then
that.
should we hold our questions on each schedule to the end? Or do
You can ask them as we go along if that's easier for you, whatever's easier.
you have questions on this schedule, Vito?
Do.
I saw you kind of moving. I have questions on Schedule 1. Go ahead, since we're on 2. Go ahead.
So when, yeah, we kind of consolidated, right? When, go back. To the increase, these increasing costs here, right?
Yes,
This is because of the grand jury investigation essentially, right?
Correct.
The additional, which is fine. So are they all on number 2 or are they spread through 1, 2, and 3?
They're-
Additional costs.
those are on schedule number 2.
Those are all on schedule 2. Okay,
Correct.
so.
Yeah, and you can see them, Member Chiesa, under the notes. If you look to the far right,
Okay,
there's where it describes them.
1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. Okay. And so then you took, and the total of those new are the 766,000?
Correct.
All right. Those are additional costs that we didn't anticipate. They're muddling through that. And then you said there was a savings on travel of, where is that located?
It's on the,
If you go up higher on the screen,
It's $150,000 under budget.
yes.
Where is that?
Right there.
Oh, that one. Okay, I see. Okay.
This is written and all I'm doing is squinting. Whole time.
Ditto. We're old over here.
So we still spent, I guess, you know what, our grand jury problem occurred about October. So we had already spent money because we didn't do any travel through the year.
and there's still a tiny bit of travel happening. Jose Luis is going to the CTC, so there's a little bit of it.
No, I know now on a go-forward basis, but the savings were in the middle of this budget, right?
Correct.
And we're only in February, so travel. We spent that early between June and September, bunch of that.
Yes.
Yeah, there's been a lot less travel like to DC or, those, the cost intensive kind of travel has
Then
been
0 though.
0. But yes,
Right.
there has been some staff troubles too for some necessary training. And then of course to the CTC as Jean has identified and maybe some smaller conferences, I think as well.
But we're anticipating $150,000 savings because this goes through June 30.
Yes.
Okay.
And to that point, it's wonderful that we have a savings. That's fantastic. I'm surprised it's even to the level of 200,000, but because of what Vito just said, nevertheless, it's better than 350,000. So yay. I would hope that next year, we can expand on the travel conference and seminar line item to articulate what they are. So we could have a better understanding of the expenditure in that bucket.
Okay, yeah, we can show you that too in other tables that we have, or we could break that down for you for next year. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good job.
And I think we had spoken with Kate. She had told us that we're gonna, that travel is going to start occurring. I'm in no way, last year we canceled, we were going to DC. It was in the middle of the height of the issue, but we have to travel. We
Right.
have to go to DC, we have to go to conferences, certain conferences have to go to CTC and be seen. I completely agree with that. It would be much nicer because we just threw up this budget and no one has any idea what was expected out of 350,000. And if you go back and say, look, DC, 2 members, 3 members go, it cost us $12,000, whatever the number is. And then we can start seeing as a board, because we're going to have to come to that conclusion. I can say that we need to be traveling, but people are going to want to know what trip costs, generally how we budget.
Okay.
Yeah, and Kate has shared with me that she's working with staff and they have identified a very clear and transparent travel policy with forms and procedures.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. I have a question on Schedule 1. Can you please go back to that slide? Yeah, there you go. Where does it show the savings with the measure, with the 1%?
It's the final square on the bottom. You'll see 619 right there. Not the final, second to the last. So you see the 619, 123 right there. And that's,
Yeah.
Measure L admin. You look in the bottom,
Oh, okay. I see. Measure L admin.
and then the Measure L public outreach education.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there's a question online.
Okay, we're not quite done with the presentation
Okay,
yet.
thank you.
okay, I think we're on Schedule 3. Jen, you can present your comments on 3.
Okay, so for the total operating expenditures for the Amendment 3, it is 6,795,000. And then for the total operating and project expenditures, it is 12,286,000, giving us a difference of, well, increase of $602,000. While the operating and project revenue is 18.261 million, that's a decrease from the original amendment by $1.47 million. And that leaves us with a surplus of 5.9 million for Amendment 3.
Are there any questions on Schedule 3?
Any further questions for Jean and Jennifer?
We have Schedule 4 to go over. I just thought we could stop at Schedule 3. Okay, so Schedule 4, next slide, is Schedule 4 is just showing the funds have been added to reflect carryover amounts. And that now concludes the presentation.
All right, thank you, Jean. All right. One a few minutes.
Repeat Schedule 4, what we have. Is it,
There, funds are added there to reflect carryover amounts that,
there's $17 million in the bank somewhere for 132 Phase 2. These are all the balances of money that's carried over, wasn't spent in the previous budget.
these are the 17,000 are either that haven't been spent or
Or
go ahead.
they're currently getting spent now on that project.
This hasn't been spent, that's right now today, right?
Correct.
And just look through it really quick.
32.
Was that At the end, Jean?
That's at the end, yes.
Thank you guys for your presentation. Any questions for Jean or Jennifer? Kind of went through them as we went. Any public comment on this agenda item? And we have the online.
Yes.
Go ahead.
They're asking, what is the funding source being used for the contracts that are increasing your operation budget?
Those are coming from various funds sources. One is which is the travel and training where we saved some money this year. We'll be using that for the additional funds that we increased the contracts for. There are, would you like to explain the other ones?
For these ones?
Mhm.
Assuming they're referring to the attorney, CPA.
Yeah, so we're really just taking money from here and there wherever we can. Again, the travel and training budget came down, we can use that. We,
We also took a little bit from communications out to utilize that $4,497. And for our memberships, we utilized $2,000 worth of that because it it hasn't been spent up to now and it won't get spent. So we can use it for other contracts, as well as the $3,000 difference in publications and legal notices.
Might also note, these are all board decisions on these additional spendings.
yeah, these were ones that we didn't expect to have happen, but things that we just need to do. So we're just, as you heard Jennifer say, we're taking 2,000 from here, 2,000 from there. Good chunk came from the travel and training savings. But we're really just piecing it together as we can.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? Okay. Bring it back to the board for comment and motion. For further discussion.
I would like to say one more thing. We did take this item to management and finance and they moved the item forward to you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion. I got a first. Second. Go ahead. All right. We're in. We got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Moving on to the next, motion to recommend the policy board adopt a resolution authorizing the interim executive director to execute a professional service agreement with CPS HR Consulting for recruitment of Director of Financial and Administrative Services, Jean Fletta.
Yes, thank you. So this, you might be familiar with CPS HR. They're the firm that is helping with the executive director recruitment. We need their help again to find a director of financial services. That's what this particular item is for. We will be getting a decrease in the funds that we have to pay for them because there was an employee Stancog had for less than a year. So they will conduct this recruitment at a discounted rate. And so we recommend that the policy board execute a professional services agreement with CPS HR not to exceed $20,000.
Is that it, Jean?
That
Okay.
concludes my
Any questions for
presentation.
Jean?
Which was our discount.
Our discount is about $20,000.
Not perfect, yes. Would have been better to have it.
Yeah, we got to do it all over. All right. Any further questions? All right. Any public comment on this agenda item? Anything online? All right. I'll bring it back to the board for
Motion.
motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a first.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion to recommend the policy board adopt resolution extending the professional services agreement with Sylvan Property Management. Kate.
Thank you. So this will extend the existing agreement we have with Sylvan Property Management, who oversees the management at 1407 I Street. That has actually become a lot more central for us right now because the tenant moved out. So it's really important that we have somebody managing the day-to-day operations of that facility. We will go out in June to do a competitive RFP for property management just to make sure that we're doing all the things that we need to do to get our ducks in a row and make sure that we are following procurement processes. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kate? Any public comment on this agenda item? Anything online? All right, I'll bring it back to the executive board for motion.
So move.
I have a first. I'll second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. All right. Moving on to E. Motion to recommend the policy board adopt resolution establishing employee classifications, salary ranges, organizational structure, and executive director authority. Kate.
Thank you. So we needed to come up with sort of some base salaries and a classification to sort of frame the operations that we complete at Stancog, and that classification structure was not in place. And we built this one through, a number of different information sources, but in preparation for you acting on the new personnel or updated personnel policies next month. So, because we haven't done a a compensation study since 2017, what we did was we looked at two agencies that had recently completed classification and salary studies, and that was the Napa Valley Transportation Authority and the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. The agencies are of similar size and complete similar work with a few differences. StanCog is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, as such, completes the Regional Transportation Plan and the Sustainable Community Strategy. Santa Cruz also does a Regional Transportation Plan, does not do the SES, but an NBTA also does a a countywide transportation plan. All three agencies program federal and state funds to their jurisdictions. And so, again, very similar in size. There is a difference in the cost of living, and to adjust for that, staff went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and selected a five categories out of that the BLS data that included, I mean, they don't have anything specific to government, but it included things like management, administrative, and health and human service type work to factor in the social work that we do as part of our mission at StanCog. So the adjustment between Napa and Modesto was about 9.2%. The adjustment between Santa Cruz and Stanislaus was about 9.3%. The salaries were a lot more aligned, or sorry, I should say that the positions were a lot more aligned with NBTA's. And so we selected NBTA's classification salary ranges and then adjusted them downwards by 9.2%. The other thing that I'm asking the board to consider, and I know that this has not been a super popular proposal, but instead of automatically providing a COLA to staff every year, instead to adjust the salaries by a factor of an average of what the increases are at the County of Stanislaus, the San Joaquin Council of Governments, and the Merced County Association of Governments, or the Consumer Price Index, whichever is higher, so that the classifications and the salaries, I should say, the salaries within the classification would be then adjusted, and those at the top end of the salary range would get an increase, and others would get increases based solely on merit. And then finally, staff is also recommending that the resolution make it very clear that the board is authorized to increase the number of full-time equivalents. Right now, the agency is authorized to have 20 FTEs, and that the executive director have authority to alter the organizational chart within those FTEs to make sure that it is up to date with trends, industry trends, and to make sure that it's serving the agency. And so with that, we did share this with Management and Finance Committee, and they did have some concerns about our approach to adjusting the salaries to Napa and Santa Cruz. But again, we did adjust them downwards based on the BLS factors. And this is also, I just would say, sort of our base level of salaries. And we are going to continue to do research as we move forward. Shannon is working with the San Joaquin Valley COGS to compare salaries. And we anticipate that over time, we will from time to time do compensation studies, but we needed to start somewhere, and this is the approach that we took. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. There's lots of attachments. Attachment 1 basically is the proposed salary ranges and the classifications moving forward. And then the attached documentation shows the comparison and the various classifications. And then finally, the last 2 attachments show what staff is recommending or not even recommending, but just showing based on my assessment, what the organizational chart should look like without stating specific staff members, just the number of FTEs and the departments. And then on the last page, you'll see that there is the existing chart. And, I know one of the recommendations moving forward, both Monica and I met with Norma Ortega, and she agreed that the current organizational chart doesn't necessarily meet the needs of the organization, and it should be amended. But I think a permanent org chart ought to be developed by the next executive director and not the interim executive director. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Kate? Go ahead, George.
Hey, Kate, this is George. Can you please re-explain the COLA difference? And I guess my concern is we're not trying to reduce any increases for staff, because I know we are short-staffed, and I am just concerned we might be doing something that would deter new employment from coming on to the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a valid point. The proposal currently, every year staff gets a COLA regardless of performance. And this would allow the salary ranges to be increased for new employees. But in general, moving forward, the proposal would be to just approve salary increases based on merit. And then when a person gets to the top of their range, then they would get an increase. So that's kind of where, I guess, my experience in the agencies I worked for, that there wasn't ever an automatic increase. And so I just am like indexing it to my experience. And, obviously the board could suggest doing things otherwise, but that would be my proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with what actually I was going to ask at the end, but let me start with that. In terms of action required at the policy board, is it your vision that a motion would approve all of the proposed adjustments and changes, or are we going to vote one by one?
Well, we have them all bundled together in the resolution, but we could, I suppose, pull them out in the memo, and then and then you can vote on them separately if you wanted to, if that's your pleasure.
Because there's a lot of meat in each of the 4 areas. I would appreciate you giving that some thought. My preference would be to take each item individually.
Okay.
But in terms of the salaries, I've worked for state government for more years than I want to admit, going on 28, almost 30. But so I'm very familiar with position ranges and salary adjustments in a government entity. And I do hear you say that you reference various sources such as the BLS factors, and you adjusted, which is great because we definitely aren't the Bay Area, and it doesn't make sense to apply Bay Area salaries to Central Valley positions. But I thought I also heard you say that the BLS factors did not take into account any government businesses or entities or positions. So,
Yeah, that's correct. There is
yeah,
no government salaries on there, but we did take similar, like there was a finance one, there is an engineering one. So we did look at the, sort of the similar things that the agency does.
I'm wondering if we could, if you see value in taking it a step deeper and perhaps seeing Central Valley government, both counties, cities, salary ranges, and factoring that in.
So Shannon is going to be doing that moving forward, but because we don't have anything in place, this is what we came up with for now. We really don't, I mean, everything that we're doing right now is very arbitrary, and I wanted to at least create a baseline. And with the idea that moving forward, Shannon is working with her counterparts at the Council of Governments in the Central Valley to compare salary ranges.
That sounds fair. So perhaps we could preface or somehow footnote this, what's it being referred to as? It's is it a schedule or a table?
It's a classification structure,
It would,
employee classification structure.
would we be able to footnote the structure in indicating that it is a baseline based on such and such and will be further reviewed to factor in local government salary comparisons?
Sure. Actually, I did revise the memo this morning for the policy board to make sure that that was clear.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's great. And then the other question I had was with the 20 FTEs that we have, I thought I heard you say that as it stands today, the executive director had the authority to alter that, and that you see it a better fit having the policy board be the authority to alter the 20 FTEs?
Yeah, so I don't know for sure because that's not in our current I don't know where that would be. And so we don't know for sure if that is anybody's authority. And I just wanted, because it's a really specific item that affects the budget, I think that it's better if we go back to the board and ask them to alter the positions and the number of the positions to make sure that it's in the public sphere as opposed to having, management inside making that determination.
So Chair, is that a policy board conversation?
That would be a policy board conversation.
I agree. Okay. Great. Thank you, Kate. I know a lot of work went into this by you and staff, and you guys did an omen's job. So thank you very much. This is a beautiful start.
Thank you.
So when it comes to the policy board, make sure you put it on a 11.5 by 17 landscape so that people can read the comps more so because it's very difficult to read. I think this is a great start, Kate. I appreciate it. What we're going to find, Shannon, when you do the 8 Valley counties, because there are a lot of our comps at the county, everyone south of Madera pays much cheaper. and they're going to skew it to the downside. Our real competition is San Joaquin County, or Merced, Modesto, Stanislaus County itself. I think we're going to get better comps just locally within, 50, 75 miles, because the deputies get paid less in Fresno, which doesn't make sense to me, but the cost of living goes down. Tulare and Kings County. And then Kern gets pressure from the LA basin. And so the salaries go back up. So let's try and use comps. We'll find out the comps will be better the closer in we stay. Yeah, but I agree, and that is definitely a conversation for the board to have.
If I may.
Go ahead, George.
I'm still mulling over the COLA amendment to this, and if possible, I would like to have that one pulled from this agreement. And I would like to have some numbers presented, so I can actually see whether this is going to affect all of staff from top down, whether it's going to affect them negatively or positively. And I'm going on my concern of I don't want to have future employment candidates look down on this organization that they're not treating their employees fairly. COLA does stand for cost of living, and we all know that every year prices go up. And so I want to make sure our staff is able to administer those living adjustments so that they're not being penalized or reduced and have to sacrifice at home.
So I guess.
So just for clarification, is that something collectively the executive committee would like to do, is to just move forward with adjusting the salary ranges automatically on a COLA? And then each person where they are in that classification would automatically get an increase? Is that collectively what you would like to see, or do you want me to present this to the policy board as an option?
So I just want to ask the other cities, because the county, the unrepresented employees, essentially, we've got unions, and then there's unrepresented employees. They get what the union gets in a COLA or a raise, depending on how you look at it. But that's the way we've done it at the county. So that makes logical sense what you're saying, George. I need to know what Riverbank's doing, what Houston's doing, what Modesto's doing, because we've got so many, I think we've got about 700 unrepresented. And the fastest way to get these folks to unionize is to not give them a COLA or not give them the possibility. And leaving it up to the executive director to do merit pay is what got us a little bit into this problem. And so we got to be careful about that. So I'm not speaking either way. I would like to hear from the other cities. If they do it that way, I'm okay with it, because that's the way the county does it. They increase the band, right? Your band expands.
Okay. As far as Houston goes, we do have a contract agreement where a COLA adjustment is automatically applied, and at time of contract negotiation, we look at the current cost of living increases through the nation, how they're set up by the federal government. So we normally give about 0.5% above that, because one year it may be 2%, the next year it may be 3%, but we always set a set number based on the current year with a 0.5% increase. So if it goes above that, they still get the reduced amount, but if it drops below, they at least get a little bit more.
Do that yearly, every single year?
Contract negotiations are 3 years.
Okay. So you set a COLA. Does it have anything to do? You call it a COLA or raise, or?
We call it a COLA
Okay.
because
Okay.
we term it as a cost of living.
So our policies allow for the executive director to also give merit raises. So they would get a COLA and a merit raise if their their performance merited that.
And that, I'm going to speak back to that. That's the thing that's got me a little bit nervous, just based on previous history. It's not that we can't, but somehow the board is going to have to okay the merit pay. I think it's got to come before us.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, it's my opinion too, that any increase in salary or merit pays or anything like that should be brought back to the board, to the policy board, who have fiscal responsibility of the organization.
So that's the whole purpose of the salary ranges, that a person within a particular range can't go above what's stipulated in the schedule. So, and then we also included in the, which you have, the updated employment or employee handbook is, it caps at 5%, but it still can't go beyond where they are within their classification. So
Right.
that's the reason why we're bringing this to you, so that you create the frame for what a supervisor slash executive director can do in terms of the amount of money given to any particular employee. But they still have an opportunity to get a promotion within their classification.
Right. Okay.
So, but I don't want, I mean, the purpose of this is not to come back when anybody gets a raise. I think that becomes tedious, but this creates guidelines that the executive director would have to adhere to.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Any public comment on this agenda item? Milt?
Yes, Milt Treeweiler. It appears as though I'm the public representative for the residents of Stanislaus County, since I'm the only public present here at the meeting, but I'm here and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm still having a little bit of difficulty understanding the full purpose of StanCog. And it's just because there's so much that's being presented, that's being done, that it's really hard for a citizen or resident to understand what it's all about. But when I look at Council of Governments, it says in California serve as regional planning agencies, conducting local government and shared issue such as transportation, housing needs, land use, environmental policy, and infrastructure. They foster collaboration, manage federal, state funding, and plan for regional growth and resiliency. So there's a lot there, and it looks like it could be individually tailored to a particular county. I don't know how come there's not people from the public residents who are actually here discussing this with you, because this involves a lot of money and a lot of issues and a lot of things that you're doing. It's so important. Getting to the subject of this 5E and the payment of staff, I'm looking at this and you are presenting 31 positions. To me, that sounds like a lot of work. So obviously with the need for 31 positions, you're doing a lot of work. I don't quite understand as a resident why some of this can't be done by Stanislaus County. I don't know where your offices are. I don't even know if you're in 1010. I know the office here. But I'm not even sure where the offices are to house 31 positions. So there's a lot of questions here. And just a quick comment on merit pay, that's pretty subjective. As a resident, I'm not too happy about merit pay because it's so subjective. So again, I've asked a lot of questions. I think the main question I'd like answered was, what are these 31 positions? What are they going to be doing? I mean, you've got all these administrators, you've got planning and programming, you have engineering, project management, communications. Where are they now? And where are they going to be if they're not here now? Thank you.
Thank you, Mills. Kate, do you want to handle all that?
Sure. So the classification structure is not intended to fill all of those positions. Rather, It will be guided by the number of FTEs that the board has authorized, which is 20, and will be structured in a way on an org chart that meets the needs of the agency. Right now, we have only, I believe, 11 staff members filled because of the number of people who have retired or separated from the agency. And it's obviously not sufficient to fulfill our obligation to members of the public. So we have contracted employees, me being one. We have a contracted employee serving as the finance director. We have a contracted employee serving as the engineer. So there's a number of positions that we would need to fill, but we don't need to fill 33 positions. The intent of that chart is also to provide an avenue for employees to progress in their careers. So that's why there's so many on that chart. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
I want to add on to that. So the full-time equivalents, we have 11 people currently working here in this office, right over here. About this door, or you come in. So that's here. And we have allocated 20 positions, but those classifications are 31 deep, meaning we don't have, nor do we have any hope of filling those other because our budget doesn't allow it. Still have to meet our budget. But Kate, did you take the 31 classifications? Did you get that when you compilated all these other organizations? Is that how you came up with 31 classifications, or did we have that before?
No, we didn't have it before. So I used the models that from Santa Cruz and Napa to build that based on what I see our needs are to fulfill our obligation as an agency.
Okay. Hopefully that, if not, Milt, we'll talk to you later. Thank you, Kate.
Anything online?
Yes, there's a question, statement. According to the San Joaquin Valley Regional Planning Directors Committee minutes from December 2024, Madera was doing a salary study as well, and there was oriented towards Central Valley counties and costs. Have you considered reaching out to them to ask for their data from that study?
All right, thank you. I think that's been determined that you are doing that work.
And the answer is yes, we have reached out to Madera. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll bring it back to the board, executive board, for either more discussion and or votes. No question?
So I think make a motion. I want to make sure when it goes to the full board, I would agree with George that we have a conversation on the COLA. A robust discussion to see where we end up. But generally, I agree that we need to start somewhere. This has been a weak spot in our organization when we had all these issues. And so I think this is a good start. And as long as this is a living, breathing document that we can change along the way, I think it's good work by Kate and Shannon.
I agree. The staff, Kate, have put in a lot of work in developing this. I think it's a good starting point. I think there's going to be a lot of adjustments going forward, but a lot of good work being done here. Thank you. And I'll go ahead and second.
So do we want to move it in this, or do we want to send it without a recommendation and have that discussion? What do you feel more comfortable with? Just asking.
Send
Okay.
it without a recommendation, and that way it could be fruitful discussion. With
Okay.
the whole entire bill.
If I may just ask a clarifying question to that. I would like to see a fruitful conversation on all the items, including the COLA.
Yes.
So will we move forward with a format where we have a fruitful conversation in each one and then vote on that respective piece?
Yeah, I think I'll add to the memo a section about your comments. I'll disaggregate the three items that I'm asking the board to act on, and then and I will summarize the conversation around the COLA as well.
Motion to approve without a recommendation to the full board.
Monica.
That makes sense. Okay, you did. All right.
So, Mr. Chair, are you still seconding
Yes.
that particular motion? Thank you.
All right. We got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Moving to F, draft web February Policy Board agenda. Sounded like Elmer Fudd there. Everybody get a chance to look at the agenda? And is there any recommendations of changes?
I will just note that the resolutions of necessity that we had to continue from January are re-agendized for February as well. And we are working with our members of the policy board to ensure that we have the requisite numbers so that we can act on the RONs on the 18th.
If you do have policy board member phone numbers, give them a call and say we really need them at the meeting.
And I'm glad how you brought that up closer up to the top, so our public participants can address what they need to address and then move on. That was good.
Any public comment on the agenda item F, draft February policy board agenda? Anything online? All right. Moving on to the next item, interim executive director report.
Great, thank you so much. Again, I just wanted to apologize for not being there in person. I had planned a planned trip and not able to be there today. So I will see you though on Thursday and then also at the policy board meeting. Staff participated in an overall work plan kickoff meeting with FHWA, FTA, and Caltrans staff. The OWP is a required planning and budgeting document, as you saw from today's amendment review. It aids the agency to maintain focus over the fiscal year on planned projects and programs and apportions resources in a way that meets federal and state requirements. So as part of that effort this year, we are working on developing a budget, which is going to be used to inform the OWP and will come to the board for your approval. The first reading will be in April. The adoption will be planned for either May or June. And then the board will receive quarterly updates moving forward. We are evaluating countywide transportation planning efforts that are necessary for jurisdictions to meet certain grant requirements, such as active transportation plans and safety plans. So we may include new planning studies. We will work with your jurisdictions on that to see if there is interest. I think overall it will save money throughout the county and also improve coordination between jurisdictions. Active transportation and safety plans are really where we're focused. And then with that, we will provide that feedback as part of the budget update, the draft budget, when we review it with you in April. A couple of events, save the date for the walking tour. I believe Josie handed out some flyers for you. This effort is intended to seek public input for providing high quality transit and walkable neighborhoods in Stanislaus County in order to inform the Community Enhancement Zone Vision Plan. Stan RTA will be providing shuttle service for this event, so thank you so much to them for that. And then also there's a project tour on the 9th of February. I guess that's today, huh? Was it today? Maybe I had the wrong date. Anyway, the project tour will provide board members with an overview of some of the projects, and we'll return to Stan Cog's offices for additional updates on projects and lunch. And Stan RTA is also providing those bus services for that event as well. And I just wanted to give a heads up that Senate and House members are beginning to seek input, a solicitation for projects for, it's really the congressionally directed spending projects for the fiscal year 2027. So stay tuned for that. We hope to be working with your jurisdictions on that to identify collectively projects that are ready to receive those funds. And that concludes my executive director report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kate. I think that date you were looking for is the 11th.
Oh, thank you.
All right,
I
any
don't have the
questions for
flyer in
Kate?
front of me. I was sort of doing it off the cuff.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Kate? None. All right, moving on to the next. Members report. Anybody have a report? Vito.
I could. First of all, Milt, thanks for coming because I think you're the only public member who has shown up in person here. We do have some folks online. And Milt, if you don't know, shows up at LAFCO. He shows up at the Board of Supervisors. He shows up at Turlock. I saw you at Houston one time online, and he's been around. So that's great. And I hear us talking here, and it made me think when you stood up there and talked about the difficulty, and we're using all these acronyms, and we're throwing them out, and SES and RTP and the OWP and all these other folks. And that's, we're going to have to ring the bell when we have public members here to actually say what that is, what those, what the full word is over a work program or whatever it might be, just to help out. And so that's for your, so I have an issue. I've been meeting with a couple of the executive directors from the Valley regarding air conformity issues, which are going to be a huge problem in the next regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy plan. And Rose and I will be traveling to Sacramento March 4th, I believe, is our Sacramento visit for the Regional Policy Council. And so we have a consultant doing some of the work. I know we signed a contract and he spoke for a few minutes last meeting, the meeting before, but having him give the total board a little bit of an update as to what the issues are, I think would be very important, not the next meeting, but maybe the meeting after would be something very important because the Valley is going to have huge issues when it comes to the reduction of VMTs without some serious change. And so it's always good to talk about that because remember when we can't meet conformity issues in any one of these, they always threaten us to take away transportation funding, which is just a double-edged sword for us. So that's just something I wanted to ask. And again, when we have, especially if we have a down meeting where we don't have a lot on the schedule.
And to that end, if I may add on to your comments, perhaps we can bring to the StanCog Policy Board those issues that we are going to advocate on behalf of our region in Sacramento to this body here and share with you what they are, so you know what they are and how they impact the work we do here in StanCog. And in regards to any individual in the public who wishes to learn more, because StanCog, as was articulated earlier, is complicated, and there is quite a bit of funding that passes through our desks, and we need to make decisions on. We have public committees that have positions that have terms, and members of the public do have an opportunity to apply and be considered for those committees. So that is just one way where a public member can get more intimately involved with the work that StanCog does. And I'm certain that those opportunities are listed in the website. If not, I'm certain you can call any one of us or staff here at StanCog to get more information in regards to those opportunities for public members. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Any others?
Yes. This Thursday, we have a special closed session meeting to do the final interviews for executive director, and just wanted to name that with whoever from the policy board had confirmed. And it is a closed session.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, moving on. We're going to adjourn.
Thank you. Please, I'll see if I can do this.